anni di DeepCon, sono emozionata come il primo anno. Il primo anno c'è stato il mio principe azzurro di quando ero piccola, il capitano di UFO. E adesso finalmente, grazie ai suoi amici e colleghi che sono venuti qui, come dice il Pedroni, mettete le museruole agli ormoni.
Grazie.
So Bruce, did you like it?
Yes. Just reminds me how old I am. That's all. Very early footage, especially of Scarecrow and Mrs. King. Brings back many fond memories. Many fond memories. Anyway.
So how did you start?
How did I start? How did I start? She told me to speak very slowly.
Not so slow.
It's a very hard question to answer. How did I start? I started as a very young man in high school plays, drama. I fell instantly in love with performing, doing the high school plays. I did every play in high school from my sophomore year till my senior year. And then decided I wanted to be an actor. And where I lived, there were no actors, there were no theater, nothing like that. So I had to go to Chicago, Illinois, which was the biggest city. And I went to drama school there, and 3 years later I was out working as a young actor in Chicago. I got very lucky and was cast in a play that took me to New York City. And then I was on Broadway, briefly, with another young actor named Ted Danson. I wonder what happened to him. I don't know, but he did well for himself, I think. And eventually, I didn't get a lot of work in New York, but I got a lot of experience just trying to learn the survival of an actor, the business of it. So I decided I was going to go out west and try my luck in Hollywood because I was very young, and I thought, you know, if worst came to worst, I could at least sleep on a park bench in California much easier than sleeping on a park bench in New York City. It was warmer. Anyway, I had a little money in my pocket. I had 4 telephone numbers and pieces of paper in my pocket, and I took off for the West on a one-way ticket to Los Angeles. And I decided that I was either going to make it there or not. So I've been there almost 40 years, and I think I did okay for myself. Okay. I was very lucky. I started on a very popular, my first job was on a very popular situation comedy called The Mary Tyler Moore Show. I had a few lines on that. And it got me my Screen Actors Guild card, and therefore I was a bona fide professional actor. And I started in small parts. I did a lot of 1, 2 line, 3 line parts on TV shows, and Hawaii Five-0, Loretta, Policewoman, oh gosh, I can keep going on and on. Gunsmoke, and that's when I was seen by a casting director. Her name was Pam Polifroni. I think that sounds sort of Italian. Pam Polifroni. Anyway, Pam saw me and cast me in this Gunsmoke episode. It was one of the last episodes being shot, the longest running hour-long television show, which was Gunsmoke. 21 years it was on. And little did I know that probably 6 months later I would be working with James Arness in another entirely different show called How the West Was Won. And the rest is history, that's right. Luke McCann became born, and was born, and I thought I was the luckiest guy in the world. I actually got to play cowboys. Oh God. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, the real Bruce Boxleitner. Thank you, David. I needed the comedy relief. But anyway,
no, Bruce, I have to explain that.
Thank God he came along.
That's because...
What, I'm talking too slow?
During David's Q&A session, they asked him a question about you.
I just met the man. Anyway, so that was it. The rest is history. I got one part bigger, and got to many things. But the fun thing was with James Arness was that he was, if I had a mentor at all, it was he. He taught me what it was to be the star of a television show, how you acted, how you behaved, your professionalism or lack of professionalism, and I carried that with me all my career. He was always a great example for me. And he never intentionally, set out to be a teacher to me. He led by example. And he was a wonderful man, and I'll always think of him that way. I buried him last year. He died, and I was his, one of the few actors in Hollywood that was actually one of his pallbearers. I was there because, I must have been special to him as well. So, anyway, and the rest is history. Went on to do a lot of television series. Babylon 5 certainly. Scarecrow and Mrs. King came along because I had done this film called Tron. And it was not successful when it came out. And I thought, well, that's the end of my film career. I'm going back to television. And I created a television series called Bring 'Em Back Alive. And that lasted 1 season, less than a season. And then CBS said, we have something better for you. And I got teamed up with former Charlie's Angel, Kate Jackson. And it's probably one of the greatest experiences of my life was working with Kate in that show. That was an amazing show. Unfortunately, in 1987, she was diagnosed with breast cancer. That's the only reason we ended the show. So otherwise we would have gone on for, I'm sure, quite a few years more. Anyway, it was a great show. You all seem to have enjoyed it. And then it went, you know, an acting career in Hollywood, it goes like this. You go up, you go down, you go up, you go down. Very few go up, 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 up. You can only go so far. I kind of went up like this for a while. I always managed to keep working, keep working. Once in a while, I'll go like that, but I'd rise up again. So I've been very, very fortunate to have a fairly long career. It's been, what, 37, 38 years now as an actor. Closing in on 40 years as a professional actor. So that's quite a track record, to tell you the truth.
And how did you land on Babylon 5?
Babylon 5 came along. They had done a pilot, and they had done one season, and Warner Brothers decided they wanted to have a different lead for the captain or the commander of the space station. And I had worked with the executive producer Douglas Netter before. I had done a Western with him, with Sam Elliott, and quite a few years before that. And so he remembered me, and he said, you know, I got a call that they were interested in me to replace this actor, Michael O'Hare. And I felt odd about that, replacing another actor. I just, you know, that's not something that you want to do or enjoy doing. But would I come over to the sound stages where they shot Babylon 5, and would I come and meet with the producers? And I did. And I had seen the show once, I think. And I found it very different from Star Trek. That's what I enjoyed about it. It was an outer space drama. It had a continuing saga, a continuing story. But it seemed darker, more mysterious, and more layered than the Star Trek shows. Nothing against Star Trek. They were always very bright. We were very dark. And I liked that. And so I met, and I had worked with the cinematographer John Flynn before. I had worked with many of the crew people before, so I felt very at home there. And I saw the material, and I just said, this is so beautiful. And then I could go to work here, and I could go home at night. So often I was having to fly to Canada or wherever and do these television movies, which I did a lot of in the late 80s and early 90s. So it was a chance for me to stay home, go to work like a normal person, put in a few hours a day, and then come home, you know. So anyway, I did started on Babylon 5, and the fan base wasn't all that excited at first. In fact, they didn't like me at all. Well, why? It wasn't the original captain. Science fiction fans are very particular. You know? They had become accustomed to Commander Sinclair, and who is this new guy coming in? So I had to strive to win over the Babylon 5 audience that had been established. And I think I did.
Yeah, you did.
I did it in a way. And I loved it. I want to tell you, I still have great friendships with the remaining cast. We do get together once in a while, Mira and Claudia and Joe and Pat Tallman and Stephen and Peter. And unfortunately, we have lost quite a few members of our cast. It's very unusual. And so we miss them a great deal, and it's actually brought us living members closer together, you know. And but it was, I think, Babylon 5 of all the shows, and I love Scarecrow and Mrs. King, don't get me wrong. I loved it. It was great material, great writing. But so far as even greater writing, I think I got to do things, I got to do material that was sometimes almost Shakespearean, I think, on Babylon 5. It was the best material as an actor I ever got to work with. because it stretched me the most. I went from the emotions from A to Z. I mean, it was the entire range of stuff that an actor wants to do, you know, in one role. So, you know.
It's probably the best sci-fi series ever made, so you were lucky.
Well, yeah, God, I hate to say that.
I did say that.
You can say that, I can't really say that. But yes, I don't know if it's the greatest one ever told. I think for the amount of money we had to spend on it, we had to do with far less than Star Trek did. Star Trek had massive budgets. We had nothing.
But you had great script.
We had great script. So we like to call ourselves the little space station that could. In other words, we had to do more with less. I mean, believe me, you know, we shot it not on a sound stage at Warner Brothers Studios. We shot it in an old hot tub factory that had been converted to soundstage. It still had the sign out front, Aquatech. It didn't, you know what I'm saying? It was kind of our little secret, and so we kind of prided ourselves on being the cult TV show as opposed to the big mainstream hit like Star Trek, you know.